6 masturbation mistakes that damage blood flow and intimacy after 60. Most people think that by the time they've crossed 60, the conversations around intimacy, desire, and self-pleasure are meant to fade into the background, like an old song that once meant something but no longer plays. But that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, these years can hold some of the most deeply connected, emotionally rich, and physically satisfying experiences of your life, if you know how to care for the body and understand the quiet shifts that aging brings. The truth is, no one really talks to us about how our habits, especially the ones we do in private, evolve over time. We carry the same routines from our 30s into our 60s and wonder why they stop working. Why pleasure feels muted. Why intimacy starts to feel more like an obligation than an act of connection. And why, no matter how healthy we try to be, there's this subtle but persistent feeling that something isn't flowing quite right in our body, in our relationship, in our energy. Here's the thing, it's not just age. It's often the small, unnoticed mistakes we make behind closed doors. The kind no one taught us to think twice about, especially when it comes to masturbation. A word that still makes some people flinch, despite it being one of the most natural forms of human expression and connection. Masturbation isn't just a release, it's a conversation between your body and your nervous system. And after 60, that conversation gets more delicate. Not because you're broken, but because your body now requires more awareness, more care, and better habit. Today, we're going to talk about 6 common masturbation mistakes that, according to urologists and sexual health experts, silently weaken circulation and intimacy as we age. These aren't meant to shame or scare you. They're meant to open a door, one that leads back to vitality, confidence, and perhaps even a kind of pleasure you haven't felt in decades. If you're over 60 and you've noticed changes in your sensitivity, energy, or even in how emotionally connected you feel, whether alone or with a partner, stay with me. Because this isn't about stopping something. It's about relearning how to do it in a way that supports the body you have now, a wiser body. One that deserves to be touched with intention, not autopilot. This isn't just information. This is a kind of permission to feel again, to connect again, to take ownership of your pleasure and power, in a stage of life where both are still very much alive. Number 1. Rushing through the act, ignoring mind-body synchronization. For most of our lives, especially in younger years, we're taught, directly or indirectly, that masturbation is something quick, private, and almost mechanical. Get in, get out, relief, then move on with your day. And while that might have seemed efficient or even satisfying at one point, the body you had at 30 is not the body you have now. And the way it responds to touch, arousal, and pleasure isn't the same either. Rushing through masturbation at this stage of life doesn't just limit your pleasure. It actively works against your body's natural ability to circulate blood and maintain healthy sexual function. Urologists explain that after 60, blood vessels become less elastic, and blood flow takes more time to respond to stimulation. That means if you're racing to orgasm, your body barely has time to catch up. Your mind might be in it, but your body isn't fully on board. That disconnection weakens the neurovascular pathways that support healthy erections or arousal. You might have noticed it already. It takes longer to get there, or the sensation just doesn't feel as strong. What's happening isn't just about hormones or aging. It's the nervous system struggling to match the pace you're forcing on it. And over time, this trains your body to expect shallow stimulation, weakening the depth of your arousal and reducing how much blood flows to those crucial areas. More importantly, this speed affects more than just the physical. It teaches your body that pleasure isn't worth time, that touch should be quick, that intimacy should be efficient, and that you should move on the moment it's over. But what if you didn't rush? What if you gave yourself the kind of attention you'd give to someone you truly loved? The irony is, slowing down, taking your time, actually makes everything work better. Blood flows stronger, nerves respond more sensitively, and your entire body feels included in the experience. Not just one part of it. You feel more. You connect more. And this change doesn't just impact solo pleasure. It overflows into how you show up with a partner, how present you are, how attuned you become. When you take your time with yourself, you teach your body to feel again. Number 2. Overuse of porn, altering brain chemistry and real connection. This one's tough for some to hear, but it's important. Porn, especially in our modern age, is everywhere. It's convenient, instant, and frankly can be incredibly stimulating. There's nothing inherently wrong with using visual aids for arousal, but when it becomes the primary way you access pleasure, especially after 60, it starts to quietly rewire your brain in ways you might not even notice. Let's talk brain chemistry for a moment. When you watch porn, especially high-intensity or variety-driven porn, your brain is flooded with dopamine, the same reward chemical linked to addiction. That dopamine hit becomes tied to specific visual cues, that angle, that body type, that scene. And over time, your brain starts to rely on those extreme scenarios to become aroused at all. Now imagine what happens when you're alone without a screen, or when you're with a real partner. The same dopamine surge doesn't come, because reality doesn't move as fast or look as flawless as edited fantasy. Suddenly, natural intimacy feels dull. It takes more effort to become aroused. Your body doesn't respond the way it used to. And many mistake this as just losing desire with age, when in fact it's desensitization. Urologists have seen this pattern time and again. Men and women over 60 who struggle with sexual satisfaction, not because their bodies have failed, but because their brains have been conditioned to expect overstimulation. And this kind of overuse doesn't just harm arousal, it erodes emotional connection too. Real intimacy becomes harder. Touch feels less meaningful. And over time, relationships suffer because no one knows why the spark is gone. But here's the good news. The brain is beautifully adaptable. Neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself, doesn't disappear with age. You can retrain yourself to respond to real touch, real presence, real connection. It may take time. It may feel unfamiliar at first, but when you shift away from heavy porn reliance and back toward internal arousal, memory, emotion, imagination, you begin to wake up parts of your brain that were long asleep. This is not about shame, it's about choice. You deserve a body and mind that respond to you, not a screen. You deserve to be aroused by life again, by your own story, by someone who knows you, not just a stranger on a screen. When you step back from the overstimulation, you create space for depth, and depth is where the real pleasure lives, at every age. Number 3, mechanical masturbation. Lack of sensory engagement. Let's be honest, over the years we tend to fall into patterns. Same time of day, same position, same rhythm, same result. It becomes less about sensation and more about routine. And for many people over 60, masturbation becomes something you do just to fall asleep, relieve pressure, or feel something without expecting much in return. But here's what often gets missed. When the act becomes mechanical, your body stops paying attention. The nervous system thrives on novelty and sensory input. Every inch of skin, especially in the pelvic and inner thigh regions, holds nerve endings that communicate with the brain to trigger arousal, increase blood flow, and stimulate hormonal release. But when you repeat the same movement in the same way every time, those nerves get lazy. They stop firing with intensity. Pleasure becomes dulled. Erection or lubrication becomes inconsistent. And it's easy to assume that age is the culprit, but often it's disconnection. Mechanical stimulation is like eating the same bland meal every day. You lose your appetite, you stop noticing flavor, and eventually You forget what real satisfaction feels like. The same thing happens with touch. Your body needs to be surprised, engaged, invited back into the experience, and that doesn't require anything extreme, just presence. When you bring your attention to what your hands are doing, when you vary pressure, rhythm, location, something changes. Your brain wakes up. Your skin becomes more alive. The blood flow increases. You shift from just trying to finish to actually experiencing pleasure in the moment. Think about this. How often do you include your breath? How often do you explore touch beyond the genitals? Your chest, your stomach, your inner thighs, your neck. These areas aren't just for foreplay with someone else. They're part of your sexual map, and the more you engage them, the more alive and responsive your body becomes. Not just in solo pleasure, but during intimacy with a partner too. It's never too late to unlearn robotic touch and invite your senses back in. Masturbation is not just about climax. It's about connection, especially to yourself. And when you stop treating it like a job and start treating it like an experience, your entire body starts to listen again. Number 4, ignoring pelvic floor health, core to intimacy and circulation. There's a silent hero in your body that almost no one talks about: the pelvic floor. It sits like a hammock of muscles beneath your pelvis, holding everything together: your bladder, your sexual organs, your lower intestine. It's involved in arousal, orgasm, urinary control, and yes, even your ability to maintain erection or experience deep pleasure. And as we age, especially past 60, this group of muscles often weakens without us even realizing it. Why does this matter? Because the strength and flexibility of your pelvic floor directly impact your circulation and sexual function. Weak pelvic muscles mean less control, less sensation, and less blood being drawn into the areas that need it most during arousal. And here's where masturbation habits play a role. When self-pleasure doesn't involve engagement of these muscles. When we disconnect from our core and treat the act as surface level, we allow the pelvic floor to become more dormant over time. Most people don't notice it until problems show up. Erectile dysfunction, decreased vaginal sensitivity, lower libido, urinary leaks, or even back pain. These aren't just issues of aging. They're often signs of a neglected pelvic foundation. But the beautiful truth, these muscles are tradable at any age. Urologists and pelvic health experts now recommend integrating simple exercises like Kegels into daily life, not just for bladder control, but for restoring circulation and sexual responsiveness. For men, strengthening the pelvic floor can mean firmer erections, better control, and even more intense orgasm. For women, it can bring back depth of sensation and the kind of natural lubrication that seems to fade over time. But it's not just about exercises. It's also about how you masturbate. Are you clenching your core? Are you breathing into your belly? Are you involving your whole body? Or just isolating one part? Even subtle shifts, like exhaling during stimulation, relaxing your jaw, or engaging your lower abdomen, can reignite your body's internal flow system. Your pelvic floor is not a passive structure. It wants to be involved. And the more you activate it, the more your body wakes up. Masturbation can become a form of therapy, a space to restore strength and sensitivity, not just seek relief. And when you begin to reconnect to that part of yourself, you don't just reclaim intimacy, you reclaim vitality from the ground up. Number 5, skipping aftercare, missing emotional and hormonal healing. Most people think that once climax is over, the experience is done. Clean up, get dressed, go about your day or night. But here's a quiet truth that doesn't get enough attention, especially for those over 60. What happens after orgasm matters just as much as what happens before and during. And when we skip aftercare, even in solo experiences, we miss a critical opportunity for healing, connection, and emotional balance. You see, orgasm triggers a powerful cascade of neurochemicals in the body. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone; prolactin, the satisfaction hormone; endorphins, the natural painkiller. These are not small reactions. They influence your mood, your heart rate, your nervous system, even how your body processes stress and sleep. And after 60, when hormones naturally shift and emotional regulation becomes more delicate, this hormonal wave can either be nourishing or destabilizing. When you rush away from the moment, turn off, or disconnect, you short-circuit that healing cycle. You deny yourself the integration phase, the part where your nervous system settles, your heart opens, and your body recalibrates. And over time, especially with repeated habits, your body learns that pleasure is not something to rest in, but something to escape from the moment it's over. That's a subtle but harmful message. Aftercare isn't just for couples. It's not just cuddling or sweet talk. It can be as simple as placing your hands on your chest and belly, taking a few deep breaths, staying present with your body. It's about letting the experience linger, not in a desperate way, but in a reverent one, letting your body feel safe, letting your emotions surface if they want to, letting your heart catch up. And this matters even more as we age. Because after 60, the emotional layers of intimacy often deepen. You carry more life, more loss, more stories. And sometimes those stories surface in the quiet moments after release. Instead of pushing them down, let them rise. Let your body speak. That's part of the healing. Urologists and therapists alike have seen the difference in people who treat aftercare as part of their intimate rituals. They report better sleep, more emotional regulation, reduced anxiety, and most importantly, a renewed sense of connection to themselves. It's a simple shift, but a profound one. Pleasure isn't just about what you do, it's about how you finish, how you integrate, and how you carry that energy back into your life. Number 6, treating it as just a release instead of a form of self-love. Let's break something open right here. Masturbation is not just a mechanical function. It's not just scratching an itch or getting it out of your system, especially not now. Not in this stage of life, when your body, your heart, and your spirit are craving something far deeper than a moment of relief. When you treat self-pleasure as just a release, you reduce it to a physical event disconnected from your emotions, your soul, and your energy. And for many people over 60, that approach leads to emptiness. You do the act, maybe you climax, but you feel nothing lasting. No vitality, no warmth. Sometimes even a sense of loneliness follows, and that's not because something is wrong with you. It's because your body is asking for more than friction. It's asking to be loved. Self-love isn't a slogan, it's a practice. And at this age, it becomes even more essential, because the world doesn't reflect back at you in the same way it used to. Your body has changed. Your relationships may have changed. Your pace has shifted, and in all of that, it's easy to feel invisible, even to yourself. But when you approach self-pleasure with intention, with care, with reverence, it becomes a way of saying to your body, I see you. I still value you. I still honor you. This changes everything. When you light a candle, slow your breath. Choose to touch yourself, not just to get there, but to feel, to soothe, to explore, to remember. You shift the energy completely. Your nervous system receives that love. Your hormones respond differently. Your mood shifts. You start building a relationship with yourself that is rooted not in performance, but in presence. And what's even more beautiful, this kind of self-connection ripples out into every part of life. People who treat masturbation as self-love report feeling more confident, more emotionally open, more available for connection with partners. Because when you know how to care for yourself, you stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth. This isn't woo-woo. It's physiological, psychological, spiritual. You deserve to feel sacred in your own skin. And that includes how you touch yourself, how you speak to yourself, and how you carry that energy into the rest of your day. So don't reduce this act to a quick fix. Don't treat your body like a machine that needs maintenance. Treat it like an old friend who's still here, still willing to give and receive love. If only you'd remember how to ask. Conclusion: reclaiming intimacy, circulation, and confidence, one conscious choice at a time. Aging is not a sentence. It's a shift. In rhythm, in sensitivity, in what the body asks of us. And when it comes to intimacy, especially the private kind we don't often talk about, that shift can be deeply confronting. You may have felt it already: a loss of sensation, slower response, difficulty connecting to your body or your partner. And it's easy to think, maybe this is just how it is now. But it's not. The truth is, many of the challenges you face, weakened circulation, lack of desire, emotional disconnection, aren't just the result of age. They're the result of habits. Quiet, unconscious ones. The kind we've repeated for years without question. And the powerful thing about habits is that they can be changed. No matter how old you are, no matter how long they've been with you. Let's quickly recall what we've explored. Rushing trains the body to disconnect. Overuse of porn dulls your arousal and damages real connection. Mechanical touch weakens sensory pathways and turns pleasure into routine. Ignoring pelvic floor health quietly undermines strength and circulation. Skipping aftercare cuts off your body's chance to heal and integrate. Treating masturbation as just a release leaves your heart out of the picture. None of these are failures. They're just patterns. And patterns can be shifted, gently, gradually, with awareness. This conversation isn't about giving up something. It's about returning to something. It's about returning to something. A deeper connection to your body. A new kind of intimacy with yourself. A wiser form of pleasure that doesn't depend on performance, but on presence. You don't need to change everything overnight. Start with one small choice. Maybe it's slowing down. Maybe it's closing your eyes and tuning in. Maybe it's breathing more deeply or turning off the screen and turning inward. These are small acts, but they are powerful acts. Acts of reclamation. Because here's the truth. Your body is still capable of deep pleasure. Your nervous system is still responsive. Your heart still longs to feel. And even if the world doesn't talk about it, even if no one ever taught you how, it is never too late to rediscover your own intimacy. You are not past your prime. You are entering a new one that holds more wisdom, more presence, and more truth than you've ever known before. And it all begins, not with shame, not with rules, but with one brave decision: to touch yourself with care, to listen, to feel, to come home to your body. Again, you're still here, and that means pleasure, intimacy, and connection. Real, nourishing connection are still here for you too. Keep going, keep feeling. You haven't missed it, you're right on time.